speaking. This is Professor Zawolo. Today we are moving over to section E, coordinate geometry or straight lines. Here we're going to be discussing how to find the length between 2 points in the plane, how to find the distance between 2 points in the plane or the length of a segment, and how to find the coordinates of the center, the midpoint of a segment. So to be able to do this, there are several formulas that we have to do. Two basic formulas. One of them is called the distance formula, and the other one is called the coordinate of the midpoint formula. So for the distance formula, say you are given 2 points in the plane, P1 and P2, and P1 has coordinate x1, y1, P2 has coordinate x2, y2. Then the distance between P1 and P2, or the length of the line segment joining P1 and P2, is given by this. Well, there should be a square right here, and there should be a square over here. So remember that, we should have a square over there. Now, the coordinate of the midpoint is given by also by this formula. Okay, we're going to insert the squares over there. So let's go ahead. Let's begin by writing, say, 3, -4, and we write the other point as 5, 4. Now, let's do some marking. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Now, then let's write a distance formula. We say the distance will be equal to x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now we'll do a substitution here. What is my x2? My x2 is 5. 5, what is my x1? It is 3. 5 minus 3 squared plus, what is my y2? My y2 is 4 minus, what is my y1? -4. Now, a common mistake is to assume that because you have a minus here, you ignore the negative on the y. No, you cannot do that. You have to do it this way. So then we must now proceed to calculating what we need. So we'll do the subtraction. 5 minus 3, that's going to be 2. I'm going to do it step by step. That's 2 squared plus 4 minus -4 is going to be 8. And I have 8 squared. So 2 squared is 4 plus 8 squared is 64. So I'm going to have the square root of 68. Well, at this point, we want to see if you can find the perfect square root of this. If it's not, then you can also see if you can do any other thing to find the square root of this. Can you break this down? Let me see. 4 times 7 is 28. Put the 8, you carry the 2. 4 times 1, 4 plus 2. That's going to be 68. So, well, we could break this down into square root of 17 and square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 square root of what? 17. That's basically all we can do in this case. So we can just basically leave this problem as that. -8. And the point on the circle is 3, -5. Find the radius. So you know that basically the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle. So if we're to find the distance from this center to a point on the circle, we have the radius. So the distance that we're interested in, our radius here will be the distance that we want to find. Correct? The distance between the 2 points. So for example, I want to do this. I want to call my first point A. And I want to call the second point B, which is 3, -5. So, and I want to do this x1, y1, x2, y2. So the distance between these 2 points A, B is actually the radius that we want to find. And that is going to be given by x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So let's do our substitution here. We got our x2 to be what? 3 minus x1 is 7 squared plus y2 is what? -5 minus y1 is -8 squared. I know in the previous problem again we had, no, that's fine. Good. Alright, so then 3 minus 7, that's -4. Now be very careful, because when you square -4, if you're using the calculator, you don't put it in the right way, you're going to have it wrong. -5 minus -8, that is going to give me 3. So I have 3 squared. -4 squared is going to give me 16. 3 squared is going to give me 9. 16 plus 9 is going to be 25. So I have the square root of 25, which is going to give me what? 5. So the radius in this case is just going to be 5 in whatever units we call it. We've been given the 2 endpoints, so we need to find the middle of it. The middle is sort of like the average. So we have to use the midpoint formula. So our 2 points, again, I'm going to call my points A and B. There's no reason I'm calling them A and B, just be orderly. I could call them P1 and P2, doesn't matter. So then I have to use my midpoint formula. So I'll write out my formula first. So my formula is, and I love to say this, XM, YM, that is the coordinate of the midpoint, X coordinate, Y coordinate will be given by X1 plus X2 divided by 2, comma, Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2. And whereas it's important to know this formula, but it's also important to realize that the reason we're dividing by 2, we're finding the middle. So we're splitting it in half. That's why we added the 2 and divided by 2. Like we're finding the average. So X1 here is going to be what? 5 plus X2 is what? Negative 6 divided by 2. And Y1 is negative 3 plus Y2 is 2 divided by 2. And what do we have here? Let's see what we have over here. We have 5 plus negative 6. That's going to be negative 1. And then we have it over 2. Negative 3 plus 2 again will be negative 1 over what? 2. And we can leave our answer like that. Well, again, now let's look at number 4. We are supposed to be finding the diameter of the circle here with center at negative 5, 2, and a point on the circle. So let's start here. So we say here our center is at negative 5, comma what? 2. So we have a point on the circle. The point on the circle has coordinates 6, negative 3. So, well, if we're finding the radius, this would be enough information to find the radius. But here we're supposed to find the diameter. So what will be our approach? What is the relationship between the radius and the diameter? We know that the diameter is going to be equal to 2 times the radius. So how do we do? We can find the radius here and just double it in this case. So let's go. How do we find the radius? We find the distance between these 2 points. So let's go back to what we've always been doing. Let me call one point P1 and say that's, I call this center O. The center is O, and so the coordinate of the center will be negative 5, 2. So it's X1, Y1. And then a point on the circle would be, let me just call that point P1. So that's going to be, or P. So I'm going to have coordinate for the point on the circle is 6, negative 3. So I'm going to have X1, so X2, Y2. So to find my radius here, I would do the formula X2 minus X1 squared plus Y2 minus Y1 squared. So what I have here is going to be plus squared squared. X2 here for me is 6 minus negative 5 because X1 is negative 5. Y2 is negative 3 minus 2. 6 minus 5, that's going to be 11. 11 squared. So plus negative 3 minus 2, that's going to be negative 5. So it's negative 5 squared. And then we're going to continue up here. So we say R is going to be equal to 11 squared is 121. 5 squared is going to be 25. So what do I have here? 5 and 1 is going to be 6. 2 times 2 is going to be 4. We're going to have 146. So that's going to be this radius here. And to find my diameter is going to be equal to twice the radius. So that's going to be D equals to 2 times this 146. Now 146 is not a perfect square. Can I break this down into 2 numbers, one of which is divisible by one of which is the perfect square. We can see, I don't want to take a lot of time on this. Let's see. If I divided this by 2, what will I get? I will get 73. It's not going to work. It's not divisible by 4. It's not divisible by 6. So I'll just keep my answer as this. Thank you. And that's it. Find some time to visit us online. Visit our website at www.feedliberia.org. Click on the WAEC prep link. Get to do some practice. And like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. And you also don't forget to subscribe so that as we upload new videos, you can have access to it. Also, try to create an account on the WAEC prep link so that you can practice and monitor your own progress. Thank you.